Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mike Toledo. I'm with a special guest named Shane Jacks. You might have heard of him before. He's out of South Carolina. He has won the Dent Olympics last year. He was the champion of it. And surprisingly, he didn't use a knockdown. He used strictly his hammer to knock down his highs when he was, moving his metal back down. So, Shane, we're not going to talk just right off the bat about blending, but how long you've been doing PDR right now?
I've been doing PDR since 94, October of 94, so 19 years, going on 19 years.
And have you always used the hammer? Have you? What made you? And if you have, how did you end up doing? Starting with a hammer, or how did you go about doing that as far as this blending technique?
That's actually a good question. When I began my career in PDR, I was actually at the BMW plant down here in South Carolina. They hired me on as a mechanic. Actually, long story short, a month into it, they sent me to California to the VPC in Oxnard to do some training with the BMW guys there. And they were using a hammer and a knockdown. The gentleman out there, I was only there for 2 weeks. Come back and they sent Germans over to train me. And here I am, I've got this hammer that I'm using for knockdown and blending, and I've also got a knockdown. And these German guys tell me, in not so many words, their English was terrible. My German is even worse. So in not so many words, I was told, girls use hammers. Use knockdowns. Men use only hammers. So they took the knockdown out of my hand and told me I had to learn how to use the hammer for knockdown and blending. So I kind of was forced into using the hammer from the beginning because those guys were with me for several months training me, and that's basically what they said. No offense to the ladies out there, but that's just what I was told.
Now, some people, a lot of techs know what blending kind of is. Some of them have been really hearing out about it. Some who never knew what the term blending is. I can kind of explain it, but I think you're going to explain it better in your own words, since you technically really, basically, you're concentrating on this technique itself, and you also gave a kind of like a class, right? Didn't you, at Mobile Tech Expo, and kind of like showing how the technique was done, and obviously just elaborate from there. What exactly is blending?
Yes, we, myself and my partner Buddy Brock, we did the blending seminar down in Orlando this past year to a packed house. It's something that I started doing this from the very beginning, and back in '94, and I really didn't think that much of blending as far as it being an odd technique to use to a lot of guys. Until a couple of years ago, and then I realized that just not many guys were actually doing it. And then, I saw that there was kind of a need or a desire out there for guys to learn how to do it more, do it correctly. But as far as your question, blending is basically, a lot of people group a lot into blending, and I do myself. When I talk about blending, I'm not just talking about blending a dent out, which is what most guys and girls think that it is. It's just taking a dent and making it bigger. And it is to a certain extent in some cases. If you have shallow dents, even up to nickel, even up to quarter size, if they're shallow enough, you can completely blend the dent out. Now, what's happening there, I cannot prove this. I am in the process of trying to prove it right now. What you were doing there is when you're hitting metal, especially metal on metal. I use a metal hammer 99% of the time. Metal on metal contact is going to cause vibrations. Everybody understands that, and everybody knows it. And it is my belief that when you hit on the outside of a dent and you cause those vibrations are like a wave. Like a tidal, like a wave in the ocean, and they are going to move somewhere, and it has to move something when those waves are going in. And I believe that it's moving metal. Can I prove it? Honestly, no. At this point, I can't. I'm in the process of trying to do that, though.
So basically, it's you're hitting with the metal surface of the hammer, and it's polished. From what I would use, and a lot of techs like yourself use, and I'm sure you. And I will get into. I'll ask if you have one on you, but so you're saying that it's the metal and metal contact that's actually helping getting that blending technique and helping with the dent removal. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. The reason I believe that is, like I said, up until a few years ago, I didn't really think about it. I just did it. I would just do it. And I never really thought about the mechanics or the physics behind it. And then I started watching guys use plastic knockdowns on metal blending, and I didn't see the same results. Now, I'm not saying it can't be done, but I truly believe that with metal-on-metal contact, you have a vibration there that is dampened if you use a plastic knockdown plastic hammer. It's going to absorb the vibration. Metal-on-metal, it has to vibrate. That energy has to go somewhere, and that energy is absorbed into a plastic hammer or a plastic or a Delrin or whatever knockdown. That's my belief, that a lot of that energy is absorbed, and if you do not use a metal instrument, really a hammer, because if you're using even a metal knockdown, your hand is laying you have two hands on the panel. When I blend, normally both hands, if I'm blending a cell panel, my hand is back really far on the cell panel where the handle of the hammer is, and the knockdown hand, of course, is not there.
Right. Knockdown
is going to be really close to the dent if you're using a knockdown, and that's going to take away some of the vibration also.
Yeah. Also, I guess too, Shane, is that you have an advantage when you're further away because you can see a crown much easier than if you are too close to it. I mean, I've experienced that myself, and a lot of the telescoping so-called blending hammers are out there in longer lengths, and it seems like it's more of an advantage to that person blending on a sail panel, especially from a distance, because they actually don't really get a chance. Only they can glue pull it, but after one good glue pull, you really only have another good chance to knock it down and blend it. And I see that, and I'm not sure if that's exactly if I'm in the same realm, but that's what I've experienced with myself and what I've seen with other techs, and what I've seen just a little bit from you.
Yes, sir. The farther away you are, I mean, that's common. That's common sense once you've been doing this, any amount of time. The further away you are, the better you can see. The further away your light is, once you start getting that dent dialed in, the better off you are. And with the blending hammer, it's not just the distance either. It's also the comfort. When you've got one arm, if you're right-handed, you've got a left arm draped over, you're unnaturally torquing your lower back also. Yeah. The way, if you're using a blending hammer only, you're standing up as straight as you're actually leaning on the car. I could fall asleep blending half the time. It's extremely comfortable to me compared to using two hands up on the panel and torquing my lower back the way that would require 90% of the time.
Now, one of Shane Rosa's asked me to ask you a question because he's a student I trained last year, and he became pretty good, but he's really interested in this. He said, "Please, Mike, can you have him ask him a couple questions for me?" And I said, "Okay, so shoot." And here's one of them. He said, "How?" He's trying to ask your technique. If you don't mind, do you usually start in the middle when you're doing your dent when you're blending, or do you start on the outside, or is it just depends on the dent itself?
It is pretty much 100%. I'm starting on the outside edges, where the dent starts to eliminate into the panel, where the damaged area starts to eliminate into the panel, the edges, the crowns. It's not technically a crown on something that I'm blending. If it's something that I'm truly blending, it is just the outside edge of the dent. And you're starting on that outside edge. It doesn't really matter if you start on the front edge or the back edge. I always start on the front edge. I start on the front very edge of the dent, and then I take it forward. And then I come to the back edge of the dent, and I bring it back. There are other guys out there who start away from the dent and try to pull the metal in. I'm not going to say that's I've had no luck with that. And I guess it's because I've been doing it the way I've been doing it for so long. But purely the way I do it is edge out from the front of the dent and from the back of the dent also.
So let me get this straight and correct me if I'm wrong. So you got your dent here, and here's the low, okay? So you're tapping to the front or the back, and you're kind of just making it kind of go back up a little bit. Is that correct, or is that what you're trying to do?
I'll do the same thing. If you got the front edge and the back edge,
yeah,
we'll start on the edge and go away,
okay,
and away.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing there. That's on a dent that we are strictly blending.
Right.
Again, I use the term blending very loosely as for everything I do. And it is also, and you may want to get into this later, you can stop me if you want to. It's on larger dents also, deeper dents, kind of like the Dental Olympics dent. Loosening dents like that up just a bit on the outside edges before you start. There were no crowns in that dent, none at all. It was all deep depth dent, but unlocking it slightly, and it's almost imperceptible what you're doing to unlock that thing. You really can't see it that much with your eyes, but you're starting on that outside edge and just loosening that center up, loosening the edges up will loosen that center up quite a bit, even on a stretched dent like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of like giving the metal technically its own massage, because if you try to force it, it's going to be real tense, and you're going to have some problems. And so, especially if it gets locked up. And I understand what you're saying. I'm sure by the way we explained it right there, or you explained it, that I think a lot of people kind of know what we mean by that. Now, what kind of hammers do you use? And I know everyone has their own perspective of hammers. I've seen everybody's different. Their opinions is kind of like tools, what they're comfortable with using. Because I've seen some crappy tools that really don't look that great for techs, but on the other hand, it works for them. So I'm not going to say this is the right tool, but we're curious about what tools you happen to have. Shane, do you happen to have any near you or?
Yeah, I actually have 3 of the hammers that I use the most right now. The one that I use the most at the current time is the Drew's Tools hammer with the M32 polish tip on it. And he actually has that on his website as his hammer comes with the plastic tip, the rubber coated tip. And again, that just dampens vibration. And I cannot stand anything that's going to dampen vibration on a dent. There is one case that I'll show you here in just a second, one of the hammers that I use, that it's okay to dampen vibration, in my opinion. But he has this tip on his website also. I like Drew's hammer a lot. There are a couple of tiny drawbacks. I'm extremely picky when it comes to hammers. I haven't found one yet that I really, really, really just completely love. It's a combination of a few that I like. And but this Drew's hammer is a really good hammer. I've got Bryce. You talked about the extendable hammers.
Yeah.
This is Bryce Rock Heels Extended Blend, and it extends out another foot or so. And use that on bedsides. Oh, this thing is fantastic, especially a white or a silver bedside, and they're all sort of rounded, and you can. That's another thing we kind of need to touch on is the contour of the panel. We'll do that later, I guess. But those rounded contours, you can blend so much more, especially the Chevy, Dodge bedsides, when you've got a good bit of contour there. And you can get far away, like you were speaking of earlier, with this hammer. The only, I use this thing is going to look like this thing is a big honking-headed hammer. A lot of guys use these right here. The only time that I don't use this on open areas. Again, the vibration damping is the reason why. I'll use this if you use one of these metal tip hammers. If you've got the very edge of a cell panel right on the edge where it curls over to the windshield,
yeah,
you've got a really hard edge there. You can blend a lot out, but if you don't want to have to sand and polish, if you hit it with this, you're going to pit it up because the metal is so locked up and stiff on that edge. So that's when I will take this thing and I will hit those edges with this and blend it out. And you don't have to worry about marring up your paint really bad or anything like that. So that's
you're almost like dollying it then, right, Shane? Kind of like with that plastic one, kind of like turn near the edge.
Yeah, you're kind of dolling it, yes, and you can get away with a lot on edges if you really know what you're doing, because the way the paint folds over on edges, you've always got a line there anyway, and you can just make that line a lot more pronounced and just feather it out for a good distance, and you will never see it. You will see it. Another dent guy will see it. That's another thing. This isn't magic. I can take dents out blending that, dent guys aren't going to see. But a lot of times, if it's a deep dent, and this helps you with painted panels that you can't pull. If it's a car that has a little bit of age on it, and you're worried about pulling, you can get away with a lot with a blending hammer. Is it going to be perfect every single time if you've got quarter size? No, it's not. It's not a magic pill, but it's going to help you tremendously.
Well, going back to that plastic hammer, you said a lot of guys use them. I've never seen that hammer before, and we're going to show everybody else what that hammer is too. And where did you get that hammer at? That last one?
Oh, this plastic one. If I'm not mistaken, these are. I think you can get these at Harbor Freight. This one was given to me, so I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, yeah, no worries. But you can send me a picture of that too, and we're going to put it on the screen as we're talking too, Shane, so everybody can kind of see what you're exactly talking about as well. Now, do you usually use this technique? Is it mainly on sail panels, or is it on the side panels? Or obviously you use this technique all the time, but I mean, do you prefer to use blend no matter what? I mean, like when you knock it down, how do you blend something out when you got such a sharp point? Like, for instance, I saw a clip of you taking a nasty dent on a body line of a BMW. You knocked that down without using any tips, knockdown tips. Is that correct? Just a straight hammer.
Correct. Yes. Well, I'm trying to think of the body line BMW that I did.
I'm not sure if it was a BMW, but it was a sharp body line. And maybe about 6 months ago, you put that video out on the PDR videos.
Is it a silver Mustang?
Oh, was that it? Yeah, it was a sharp body line. So.
Yeah, I believe that was a Mustang. Yes, I use no knockdown on that. I use a knockdown every now and then. If I'm going to have to put a lot of force, and I can't control the hammer swing.
Yeah.
You have to be able to control that hammer swing. And if you were to the point, I always, and this is what I taught at the seminar, and any time that I put a video out or anything, my hand it's always pivoting on the panel. I'm never away from the panel. If you start doing that, there are guys that probably can do it. I don't have that much control. So if I start coming up, yeah, I can drive a 16-penny nail all day long away from a frame. But when I start blending it in, you want to be so precise that when your wrist locks your hand into place, so the movement is very minimal when you want to move it. You have to make yourself. If you're freehanding it, there's a lot of movement going on there that you don't need. So yeah. If I have to get so short that I have to pull my hand off the panel, I'm most likely going to use a knockdown.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I've seen some people. We're having some discussions, and some PDR Texas. I don't know how he does it. I mean, I can't. So it works, but I don't know how I could do it because I don't know. I need to be precise, so I need to take my tap down, and I need to be right where I need to be knocked down. And I agree too, because I did a lot of practicing and doing it, and I was getting the rhythm, like you were saying. You got to keep it very still, and then once you get a lock-on position, you're good. But it does take practice, and what I think is, like, if you like it, like people like certain things, like they're intrigued by how I use the line board on certain things. But if it interests them and they want to do it, they're going to get good at it. And that's what I think. That's what I'm picking up. And it's what's great is I'm a 22-year tech, and I still pick up new techniques that'll help me. If it helps me go faster in the long run, I'm going to do it. And I'm sure that's what people are interested about, what we're talking about blending. So that's why I brought it up, because let's go. I'm going to go thrust for another topic here is about that is now I heard you're coming out with some training videos down the line. I don't know how soon or what it is, or maybe some courses, something like that, but kind of elaborate on that.
Right. I'm kind of staying away from the whole courses thing. I am currently in the process of very beginning stages of developing a video on blending, and that is all it'll be. Will be a blending tutorial that will be available, and I'm hoping to have it ready by Mobile Tech Expo by that time. Let me scratch that. I'm not hoping. I will have it ready by then.
There you go.
So, that will be. There are a lot of things. Like I said, I am collaborating with a couple of other guys to do this, and I'm in the process of being able to show guys this video will show you. A lot of times, guys ask, "Well, how many times are you hitting the panel?" And unless I sit there and count how many times I'm hitting the panel, I don't know. And then they ask, how big of a pattern, how far away am I going? Well, when you're at an angle that you have to be able to blend a dent, your perception of how far you're going out is really skewed. You may think you're only taking it out, and I found this out very, very recently, that I'm taking it out a lot farther than I thought. I thought maybe an inch. On a dent with some depth to it or some size to it, I'm taking this thing out 3 inches. And it surprised me because of the way, but I found out, another gentleman's helped me figure out a way to show that, to show exactly where I'm striking, exactly how many times I'm striking. And that will be on the video, proving that the vibrations help to push the dent out. We are currently doing everything we can to try to figure out how we can prove that is happening, and I believe, I'm 99% sure that will be a part of the video. But it will be comprehensive in blending. That's all it will be, and it will show exactly how I use the hammer, and my partner also has been doing it about as long as I have. He's just as proficient as I am at it. And we're gonna share what little bit of knowledge we have with the dent world. So that's my goal, is to have it by Mobile Tech. And you brought up something really, and that's why I like guys like you, Mike. You're always learning. Up until about 5 years ago, I thought I knew everything there was to know about Paintless Dent repair, and I was using, oddly enough, a line board. And kudos to you guys that can use one. That's what I used for years and years and years. And then someone told me about this fog light thing, and I was like, "You're insane." He kind of didn't make me, but begged me to do it for a week. And now the level that I can take it to is much greater. What works for me may not work for Mike. Okay? And the sooner that guys understand that, the better off they are, because try everything. And give it more than 2 days. Try everything. Try blinds, try fog, try these new tools. Guys get locked down in a certain mode and they think they know everything. That's when you stop learning. That is when you stop growing, is when you think you know everything. And
Point made. I mean, I was out there doing hail not too long ago, and I show up with my line boards, and I'll be there, Mike. What the hell are you doing with a line board? And it was funny as heck. But I was doing my dents, but I wasn't fast. I was slow because of the way I was looking at it. But I ended up switching to fog because for a lengthwise for the roofs, and obviously I could see the dent quicker, faster from a distance, because with lines you're showing too much detail at a certain point. But I'll get into that later. But it just shows, if you want to understand different techniques, and if you get locked in a situation where you can't understand a certain dent or whatnot, this technique might end up saving you to help get that dent out. So it goes back to keeping an open mind, like I've been preaching for a long time. So Shane, I mean, is there anything else you can elaborate on this? We look forward to your DVDs or your tutorials coming out. Put me on your pre-sale list, please. And You know, and are you going to be back doing another course at Mobile Tech Expo? Have you thought about that?
No, I won't be doing another with this tutorial coming out. That will take up my time at Mobile Tech. So I won't be doing another class this year. Maybe a few years down the road, a couple of years down the road, it'll happen again. And maybe some one-on-one training with some guys. You know, I'm open to that. I haven't been in the past. I am moderately open to it now. It's just a time thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's a time thing.
Well, I hear that now. Are you doing anything Hale right now, or what are you doing a route? What are you doing to stay busy these days?
Well, I was chasing hell for not the first few months, from around February until about 5 weeks ago, and found out the shop that I'm sitting in right now, I'm losing this shop, and I have to move into a better facility, actually, and I'm getting it ready right now. So I had to come off the trail and get this ready, so I'm at home, staying very busy at home. So.
Good for you. Yeah, I think that's everyone's Hale dream, is though to make that big bucks, but actually to always be home with the family down the line, you know, and stay with the family. So that's always the best thing. What I see. So, but Shane, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. A lot of people want to know what the heck blending was a little bit. We're going to show some clips, obviously, or we've already been showing clips about how you're doing things and whatnot. But again, thanks a lot, Shane, and I do appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Shane.